telling everybody they should move on. Some do, but not us.
If you've seen our previous video on the Young Avengers project in the MCU, you already know we covered a lot, like team members, recent updates from Kevin Feige, and who might be leading the squad. If you haven't checked it out yet, go watch that first. Because for today's video, we're diving into something new. How the MCU just introduced 3 potential recruits for an Avengers replacement that I'd love to see in live action. Plus, we'll discuss when and where the Young Avengers might make their next big appearance. So, let's get into everything we know about their solo project. First up, let's break down these 3 new potential recruits who could be great additions to the Young Avengers in live action. As seen at the end of The Marvels, Kamala Khan's Ms. Marvel is already planning to build a team, recruiting Kate Bishop in the post-credit scene. But now, the MCU has subtly introduced 3 more possible members through Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This new animated series takes place in an alternate MCU timeline, where Peter Parker is invited by Norman Osborn to join the Oscorp internship program instead of becoming Iron Man's protege. Interestingly, this internship program isn't just a cover, it's a real thing, which could mean more young heroes in the making. This leads us to the big question: who are these new recruits? Well, Peter's fellow interns include some very familiar names from the comics, characters who could potentially transition into Young Avengers in the main MCU. But before we get into them, it's worth noting that the Young Avengers already have a solid lineup of potential recruits. Over the past few MCU phases, several young heroes have been introduced, making it clear that Marvel Studios is laying the groundwork for the next generation. Alongside Kamala and Kate, we've met Cassie Lang's Stature, Riri Williams' Ironheart, Kid Loki, America Chavez, Hulk's son Scar, Eli Bradley, T'Challa's son, and a teenage Billy Maximoff's Wiccan, who just returned in Agatha All Along. His brother Tommy, aka Speed, is still missing, but with Billy searching for him, he could be back soon. Kamala and Kate have already discussed bringing Cassie Lang into the fold, and recent Disney promos have featured Cassie, Riri, and America together, hinting at future team-ups. While Marvel hasn't officially confirmed the Young Avengers roster, it's clear they're prioritizing introducing these younger heroes. Now, back to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The show has introduced 3 more potential Young Avengers members. While they exist in this alternate timeline for now, nothing says they couldn't also appear in the main MCU. So, let's break down who they are and their comic book connections. In the comics, Jean Foucault goes by the name Finesse. She has a photographic reflex ability, similar to Taskmaster, which allows her to master any skill incredibly fast. She was part of the Avengers Academy, a program that trained young heroes but also secretly monitored them for potential villainous tendencies. Jean's backstory also involves Norman Osborn, which makes her inclusion in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man even more interesting. In the MCU, Taskmaster's identity is different from the comics, so Jean might not be related to Antonia Dreykov. Still, she could serve as a Black Widow-type character for the Young Avengers, using her incredible combat skills and intelligence to take on threats. Amadeus Cho is one of the smartest characters in Marvel Comics, often ranking right behind geniuses like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Reed Richards. In the comics, he starts as an ally of the Hulk before eventually becoming a Hulk himself, going by the name Brawn. Given that his mother, Helen Cho, already exists in the MCU, she appeared in Avengers Age of Ultron, it shouldn't be too hard to introduce Amadeus into the main timeline. If he does appear, he could bring a fun, cocky energy to the Young Avengers, possibly even experimenting with gamma radiation to try and improve upon Bruce Banner's work. The final recruit introduced in the show is Asha, a Wakandan intern in Oscorp's aerospace division. In the comics, Asha has light-based abilities and was a student at the Wakandan School for Alternative Studies. She was one of 3 students chosen to represent Wakanda in the Contest of Champions, and she even helped fight off Thanos' invasion on Earth. If the MCU's version of Asha retains her comic book history, she could bring unique Wakandan technology and skills to the Young Avengers, much like how Shuri has played a key role for the Black Panther films. Right now, these 3 characters are only confirmed to exist in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But given Marvel's history of introducing characters in alternate settings before transitioning them into the main universe, it wouldn't be surprising if we see live-action versions of Finesse, Amadeus Cho, and Asha at some point. It all depends on audience reception and how Marvel chooses to shape the future of the Young Avengers. Even if they don't join the Young Avengers, I'd love to see these characters grow into their superhero identities in the animated series. Finesse's struggle with being labeled as a potential villain, Amadeus's possible experiments with gamma radiation, and Asha's mysterious connection to Wakanda all offer intriguing storylines that could develop over time. And who knows? With Avengers Secret Wars set to shake up the multiverse, we might see some of these characters transition into the main MCU timeline sooner than expected. It'll be exciting to see how these new recruits evolve. Whether or not they officially join the Young Avengers, their presence adds even more depth to Marvel's growing roster of young heroes. What do you think? Would you like to see Finesse, Brawn, and Asha in live action? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on all things Marvel. Now let's move on to when and where the MCU's Young Avengers might appear next. Now that a Young Avengers team has officially started forming and there are plenty of potential members available, the big question is when audiences will finally get to see these heroes come together. Marvel Studios has movies scheduled through 2027's Avengers Secret Wars, so it might seem like there's no room for the Young Avengers until Phase 7 or beyond. However, that might not be the case. Marvel has held on to a few release dates in 2026 and 2027 without confirmed projects, and one of those could very well be a Young Avengers movie. Moreover, considering Kamala Khan and Kate Bishop made their MCU debuts on Disney+, it's possible that the Young Avengers will get the series treatment instead. That said, this seems a little less likely given Disney CEO Bob Iger's recent announcement that the MCU will be limiting itself to 2 to 3 movies and 2 TV shows per year. With projects like Agatha, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, Wonder Man, and Vision Quest already lined up, a Young Avengers series wouldn't have space to release for a few years. In the comics, Nathaniel Richards, better known as Iron Lad, is a founder of the Young Avengers, assembling the team to prevent his dark future as Kang the Conqueror. While Kang has been a major player in the MCU, Iron Lad has yet to appear, so it's still uncertain whether Richards or someone else will take up the mantle. That someone could be Harley Keener, given his past connection to Tony Stark and access to advanced technology. However, Keener replacing Iron Lad seems like a long shot, unless he shows up in Thunderbolt movie. Marvel could set up a story in Thunderbolts where Iron Lad faces off against Sentry, who has already been confirmed for the movie. This could be a great way for the MCU to emphasize that Earth needs more heroes, especially young ones, to step up and fill the void left by the original Avengers. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.